Welcome to Construction Champions Podcast, where we are burning the house down and rebuilding it twice a week. I'm your host, Ron Nussbaum, and I am here to help you become the champion that you're meant to be. Along with our amazing guests along the way, we will provide you with the resources, the latest and greatest. You will sit down with disruptors in the construction industry. And my goal from day one has always been to change the mindset around the construction industry. No more where we let the 3% of bad apes dictate the entire reputation of. All right, Construction Champions, we're back for another amazing episode of Construction Champions Podcast. Now, before we get started, hit one of those buttons wherever you're listening, whether it's the like, the subscribe, the follow button. Like I've said before, don't really care which one it is. Just hit one of them. It helps us all out. It helps get the show in front of more people, as well as it gives us real-time feedback on what we're talking about here on Construction Champions Podcast, where, as always, you don't show up for Ron Nussbaum. You show up for our amazing guests. And today we have an absolutely amazing guest that we've had the privilege to talk to before. Timothy, it is fantastic to have you back on the show.
Oh man, thank you for having me again, Ron. I feel honored.
You join a small group of people. We have over 200 episodes, and I only have a handful of people that have been on here more than once. So you're now part of that group. And for all the construction champions that don't know you from your last episode, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, so again, I'm Timothy Wingate Jr. I'm a construction accountant, so I have a heart and passion to serve the construction industry. We help to bridge, the field with the back office. You already know that there can be a huge disconnect between the field and back office, and I'm here to make those two places talk. And so that way you could continue to get good data and grow your company. That's my goal. If I can't help you grow, I'm doing something wrong.
I love it, man. I love it. So I'm excited to dive into this here today. A lot has changed since the last time we talked. A lot of different moving pieces out there in the construction industry now. So I'm going to ask the $1 million question again for some real-time data, and that is what makes a construction champion right now.
Is communication chaos holding your construction business back? Emails, texts, and generic tools weren't built for your business. BuilderComms delivers a platform built for construction. Fully branded, custom workflows, and seamless integration, all designed to fix communication for good. From our free forever plan to your own custom solution, we make construction software not suck. Ready to transform your business? Book your free strategy call today.
What makes a construction champion right now is someone who is digging into the numbers. If you're not, reviewing reports on a consistent basis, you don't know how well your company is doing. You don't know how well that project is doing. And so it's a construction champion is someone who's getting into the numbers.
I love it. Because we have to know our numbers, especially right now, with a lot of different influence. And it can be scary for guys to dive into those because they're like, I don't even know if I want to know. Like, even if they're people that they keep their finger on them right now, everything's changing so rapidly, it can really impact your business quickly. And you really have to keep a finger on this.
You do. If you're not doing it, you are doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing the employees that you hire a disservice because they're trusting you to be the one who's leading this initiative and really getting us to a place where we're not only growing, but we're being profitable and we're thriving. So they can expect, new things to come down the pipe, like, maybe new benefits that you wanted to offer that you couldn't offer last year, but because you been tied in and digging into those numbers and fine tuning things and putting yourself on the budget, you were able to accomplish a lot of the things that you wanted to do for them. And that's what this does. That's what makes you a construction champion.
Yeah. So, being that it's April of 25, are there any new numbers that guys should be watching out for, or like just stuff that has changed?
Yeah, so I think one thing that people need to really start to evaluate is, am I on the right accounting, using the right accounting method? Um, because currently most construction guys are starting out using just on doing their accounting on a cash basis. So when you do that, you're counting that money when it hits the bank account. So it could be money that's owed to you out there that you haven't recognized as revenue, or you haven't even considered if you don't have no way of tracking it to say that it is owed to me in a systematic way. You may know it in your head, you know, but we all know we can get a little foggy at times. We can forget, we're human. And so you need to have a systemized way of knowing what's owed to you, and also what the company owes to a sub or supplier.
Mm.
And so doing it, flipping it to the other way, which is accrual accounting, then you're getting into where you're recognizing revenue and expenses soon as you create the bill or as soon as you create the invoice. And so now you can have a better handle on, hey, I see that I owe like $50,000 to suppliers and vendors for this one project. You know, did we even collect enough income from the project to even cover those expenses, or do we even have enough invoiced out to the client to cover those expenses? So those are things like that. So really, just monitoring your collection and bill payment is essential right now in this current environment. You need to be knowing how much you owe and how much is owed to you. And, you know, ultimately you need to be trying to collect, your money as fast as you can. So monitoring your accounts receivable turnover rate, is one thing to kind of keep an eye out on. It's like, how quickly am I turning invoices into cash?
Mm.
You know, and so that is a huge thing that we're monitoring with a lot of our clients right now.
What should be that, or what's not what should be? What's the industry? You work only in the construction industry. What should be those turnaround times? What should that look like for guys?
I mean, we don't, if we see anything over 30 days, I guess the problem would be if we're seeing that clients are paying invoices 40 days, 50 days, 60 days, 70 days, you know, that shows that we have a collection problem, because most of your invoices, especially to these residential clients or commercial clients, should be on a 30-day turnaround cycle. And if they're not, then there may be some cash bottlenecks that's happening, what I mean, where you're moving cash from one place to another too quickly. And so we need to kind of keep a hold on that, because we can't pay out to suppliers and vendors if there's some cash that's not in the account to cover those things. Do you even have a line of credit, to even help with those gaps? So that way, the cash is coming. But ultimately, we want to see construction clients collecting very, very quickly. They should put a lot of focus on getting things collected. So in other words, they need to put a lot of focus on meeting milestones out there in the field. The other thing too is making sure that your contracts are well written and the payment schedules are somewhat, that it makes sense. Like, we don't want a 50% deposit and then a 50% payment at the end. Like, that's not good. You know what I mean? Because now you got 50% of your income that you're waiting on when the project completes. So that means you're financing this job, you know, at the very, at the middle, the halfway mark, all the way until the end of the project. And that's not good. So put some smaller milestones in there. Hey, when we finish rough plumbing, we get a payment. When we finish rough electrical, we get a payment. When we finish pouring the foundation, doing the roof, all these little things, that is going to make the contract a little bit better for you and the client because it's going to be clear. And then it's going to make sure that you are getting payments consistently from the client. And then there's smaller payments, and then it's more predictable, of when you're going to get those payments when you break them up in smaller chunks like that.
Yeah, and it just sets those expectations from day one, which are so critical. Like you said, to have 50% up front, 50% on the back end. It only takes one little small thing to hoard up that entire net half of the job that you finance. I can see why cash basis could easily be the reason why people are having cash flow problems.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. For sure. Because if we know that we put a milestone in there to get paid once rough electrical is done, and then that matches up with our subcontractor agreement with the electrician, so then he knows that, hey, he's expecting the payment because he's finished rough electrical. We have expected a payment from the client as well. Now we should have enough money to pay him and also have some profit built in that because we've marked that up at some margin. So we should have some cash to play with. Like there shouldn't be cash that we're using or profit that we're using from one project to cover another project that we financed because we didn't have the right payment schedule set up.
Yeah, I mean, setting up a payment schedule is so important, especially if you're dealing with some form of financing on the project. And it's always easier to collect little amounts along the way. You should never have a huge egg just sitting out there. Because like you said, you're the one financing it. Like as the business owner, you are financing that for 0% until you get your money. And it just gives leverage to like, this is how we get in these situations where we're taking 10% off a final payment or something because we need the cash. Even though there's no reason to do it, we're just not in the seat to be able to negotiate any of it.
Yeah, because one thing we're missing out of that, and because you got to figure this too. In every payment that you're receiving a payment to pay cost of goods sold, which is usually material, sub, or suppliers. And you're also receiving a percentage of overhead. And yeah, remember, overhead doesn't stop. Your salary doesn't stop. That office admin salary doesn't stop. I'm going to speak for all my accountants out there. The accountant fee doesn't stop.
Well, I think you bring up a great point. Is like your salary doesn't stop, but what's the first thing that always gets cut is the owner's salary.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the owner's salary because you're financing too many projects with the company's money or company's resources, and you shouldn't be. Every customer should be financing their own job. And the only way we could make sure that is happening is if we're tracking this information and reviewing this information consistently. Because if we're not doing that consistently, then guess what? A client's not going to call you and say, hey, how much do I owe you for that milestone that you met 2 weeks ago? They're not going to do that. They're going to wait to, hey, this guy hasn't invoiced me. I'm not going to call him to get an invoice.
They just figured you didn't hit the milestone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you just didn't hit the milestone.
Something's wrong. And then that brings in a whole nother can of worms.
Right. Right. So be proactive. Be proactive. Check your numbers daily, consistently. Stay on top of those subs too. Making sure that they have completed what they need to, because sometimes you get subs who just come in and say, hey, I need to get paid this week. Oh, okay. What milestone did you meet this week? Oh, I just need to get paid. I gotta pay my guys. I ran out of money. No, you need to make sure that you've met the milestone that we agreed upon in the contract. Because once I can't pay you for this rough work rough plumbing or rough electrical until you have completed it. So that way I can go to the client and get a payment. So it's not just because you need some money. I'm not in the business of financing subs either, which a lot of contractors do.
Well, yeah, and it's an amazing thing when you start to think about it of what, if you're not tracking this stuff, if you're not setting the expectations, how much stuff you're actually being the bank on, right? You said from the subs to the homeowner, and this is all 0% interest, and it's a huge liability for you.
Yeah.
Because if something happens in that, so you pay that sub and then they don't show up because you already paid them, so now they're on to the next job to try to get some money.
Yeah.
It just becomes a huge liability, and you are single-handedly carrying all the risk.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so common, and it's happening throughout the nation, and maybe internationally. I'm not sure. I don't do international accounting, but nationally, I know this is happening, because we serve construction clients all over the country here. We're based in Florida, but we're serving, construction companies all throughout the country. So I'm seeing this happen where construction companies are financing subcontractors and customers all the time. And they're wondering why they can't get ahead is because they're behind or trying to play catch up,
Yeah.
So and when I say behind, because you're behind in invoicing, and then you're trying to play catch up on things that you owe, and then they start taking out loans and lines of credit. So now, you're financing, these two entities, and then now you're receiving financing from someone who's going to want their money every single month without fail, and now you're paying a crazy amount of interest because you're charging no interest to the customer or the subcontractor, and then now you're taking out a loan or line of credit at maybe 15 to 20% interest rate, and then guess what? That was all your profit.
And then we wonder why.
Yeah, you wonder why. It's like, oh, I just lost all my profit to borrowing, a loan or line, borrow from a line of credit or pulling out a loan to carry some expenses that I shouldn't have had to carry or shouldn't have had to go and get a loan for or draw down from my line of credit for, if I would have just invoiced on time, or if I would have made sure my contract had enough small payments along the way of the project, so that way I can be constantly getting cash in consistently all the time. It's we just got to be strategic. We just have to.
You just have to plan. We had a line item in our contracts is that when payments were due, after 30 days, we started charging interest on that from day one. Like if we're going back to the date you were supposed to pay us, and we're going to charge monthly interest on that until we collect.
Yeah.
And then if you are having a collection problem with somebody, at least you're not financing it for free.
Yeah.
And also the amount of cost in trying to collect that stuff that's where the real cost is now you have to have one of your senior people out there collecting this money, figuring out how to collect it. So now you're taking them away from projects that they currently should be working on, that you're paying them to do the work. And now they're back here trying to clean this stuff up, or worse, as the owner you are. And your time's the most valuable out of everybody.
Yeah. I mean, so valuable. And that's the other thing too, is this is why you need system. This is why you need a team, especially an accounting team, because as an owner, you're not in the best seat. let me think about it, before I make that statement. But I'm pretty confident in this statement. I haven't met any construction owner who is an accounting whiz and who can just do all this stuff, keep all the stuff in their heads and be proficient at it. Like I just haven't seen it.
It's because they're not your ideal customers. The guys that can do that are only doing like one job at
Yeah,
a time,
that's
here,
yeah,
twice
that's
there. There's not a whole lot to track. Like,
right.
and you're probably still messing it up, but those people just don't fit your realm, like, because they're not doing enough work.
Yeah. 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 You gotta be, I mean, if you're doing if you're doing $1 million work, worth of revenue every year through construction projects, you need an accounting system, and you need to be job costing. You need to be monitoring every expense and income by job. It's without a doubt. If you're not doing that and you can't make sense of it, you're losing money. I can just tell you that right away.
Well,
I'm gonna have to look at
here's the crazy thing is like
yeah,
we have to make that comment in the
yeah,
construction industry. Like you have to say if you're doing $1 million, if in any other industry, if you have a business doing $1 million, this isn't even an afterthought. It's not even a conversation. It's just a requirement to do business.
yeah, yeah, it is. And I know with construction guys, what I mean, we can, cause trust me, I understand this because my father is a GC, and that's how I have this, special affinity to the construction industry. So you can, sometimes we're proud people. Um, we like fixing things. That's why we're in the construction industry. So we like being the person who kind of knows a little bit about everything and feel like we got our hands a good chokehold around, all these little things that we need to have managed properly. And so kill that. Go get some help, get some smart people on your team, in the back office who can help you manage all this stuff. You don't need to be sitting down on weekends trying to figure out how much you made from each project and what do you owe and who you need to invoice and all these different things. You need to get some other hands, to help you with that. And then you need to be out there selling jobs, marketing and selling jobs. That is who you are. I don't care if you were the best carpenter that any construction company has ever seen in your heyday, but right now you made the decision to own your own construction company. And because you've made that decision, you now have to wear a different hat. You now have to be the one who sells and market the company full time. That is your job. You'll put out a couple flyers when there's some contract disputes with subs or with the customers, those type of things. But primarily you are there to sell the company, to get jobs and keep projects coming in, and then to keep your team happy because they're like, man, my owner, he's killing it. What I mean? We got leads, too many leads. We got a backlog of leads, sitting there waiting, for us to tackle. And matter of fact, they said they're not going to any other construction company. They're going to wait until we're available so that way we can do their project because they've heard so many good things about how, communicative they are, how everything is just easy to understand. The payment schedule, nothing is hidden. Everything is just clear and they finish on time. That's
So,
what.
so when I guess how easy is this ship to correct or how hard it is when you start working with a client and you guys dive in to fix this so you get it right? What does that look like? What's that timeline like? And how, I guess guys are probably concerned that this is something that is super, super hard to do. So if we could just break that down, how that even works to
Yeah.
right the ship so you don't ever have to worry about this ever again.
Yeah, to write the strip, it takes time because I will say this, if this was year one, super easy. Super easy. But if you've been in business 10 years and you got, a handful of employees and you got a handful of projects going on right now, this is not going to be done in 6 months. Take that out of your head. But what we're looking for, just like you're looking for milestones to be met, we're looking for the same thing. Hey, what is milestone number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Until we've gotten to a place to where everything is managed. So it really just depends on where they are when we get them. If the books are a mess, they're unreliable. Sometimes we have to start over. So in starting over, if we're in January, easy. We're only dealing with 1 month as our starting point. But if we're in October, but we need this year's data to be accurate, that means what? We're going back September, August, July, June, all the way back to January to get the data corrected. Takes time. It takes time. Are we concerned about job costing all that data? Or are we just concerned about getting the numbers accurate? Those are decisions that we talk about with the client. Then it's like, okay, what is the problem right now? Is it invoicing or is it paying bills? Because then we may simultaneously set up a bill pay solution or put together a accounts receivable process that the whole team needs to adapt. How are purchases being made right now? Is someone going into Home Depot and just buying, supplies for 7 different projects all on one receipt? you know, if that's the case, now we need to discuss how do we change that so that way when that information comes back, because a receipt is information. So if information is muddied up, meaning that it's 4 or 5 projects in one receipt, it's hard to extract what we need for each project from that one piece of information. But if we have a way of divvying up that information so that way it's clear on what projects is for, or even what cost code is relevant to, then we have better information to put into our accounting system so we can put out better reports, and then you can make better decisions about what to do with that information. So that is kind of what we started work on. So you can see it's a lot of strategies, a lot of new ways of thinking about how you do things inside your company that we have to start to discuss, because it's going to require some changes to be made for sure.
That's awesome. And I would have to guess, from at least my experience, is once this is right, the meetings are really easy and they're all strategic. That's when you can actually start strategically doing stuff to improve your business.
Yeah. Yeah. You start to have conversations like, hey, Tim, what's my current ratio? How well is that right now? What's been my gross profit trend over the last 6 months? What's been my expense cover trend for the last 3 months? See, those are KPIs that I'm giving you that they may have heard of or they may not have heard of. But if you can't talk that lingo right now, once you get with us and we get you cleaned up and you get to a certain spot, you'll be able to talk that lingo. You'll be able to see reports that make sense, and you'll be able to understand these things and how to interpret that information and apply it to real life application. Just like, okay, oh, this is what it means and this is what I'm seeing. and make those connections. So I love helping contractors connect the dots like that. I love when they start to find this newness about, KPIs and understanding their business um, from a data centric type of, way of doing business. So it's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, because a lot of times we make a lot of decisions based on assumptions or like just how we feel. And we don't necessarily have the data. And making decisions on assumptions lead to the mess might currently be in. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't do a whole lot.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. But that is what Jeff Bezos does. You know what I mean? He's not looking at every Amazon distribution center and saying, what is employee A doing out there or how inefficient are they being out there? No, he's looking at data. And based on the data and KPIs that have been built for his specific organization, he's able to know that they're underperforming or they're performing,
Mm.
and how well those things are going. He's able to do that across the nation, you know, because that's what he does in his boardroom. They're looking at reports and charts and making sense of it, but they had to get there, you know. They had to make sure the data was clean. They had to make sure the data was accurate. They had to make sure that they put in tracking systems inside of each distribution center that's tracking information, so that way it could, consolidate that information and put it into a system that he could see remotely. It's a lot of different things had to happen for him to be able to do that. Otherwise, he would have had to go down there to every distribution center and have a meeting with every manager of that location and look at handwritten reports. I mean, that would be the only way. And then, even then, someone would need to have put that report together, manually with a pen and paper. And who wants to do that? I wouldn't want to do that on a billion-dollar organization. I can tell you that.
No, no, no. We shouldn't be doing that anywhere.
Yeah.
In today's world, there is no reason why we don't have the ability to pull reports and stuff from data that we're collecting along the way, no matter what you're doing on the project.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's crazy. It's crazy how some people operate their businesses. This conversation today, I know will change some people's thinking around this. So I absolutely love it, man. For everybody listening, if they wanted to connect with you, learn more about what you do, follow you, what's the best places for them to do that?
Well, best places to go is to construction.accountant. You know what I mean? That's my website. You can come and book some time with me. And I'd love to do a consultation with you and see if we can be a good fit. The other way is LinkedIn. I'm heavy on LinkedIn. Me personally, we have Facebook, social media, platforms like YouTube and Instagram. We have all those pages where you can go and get some other information. You can just Google my name. You'll probably see me in a bunch of different publications. I was in Inc. magazine. I was on ABC News, a lot of different other places. So you'll be able to see that. And I think this is the first podcast I'm going to say this, but I'm dropping a book for the construction industry.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, written from a construction accountant, it's in story form. So it's not going to be this big, boring, textbook type of thing. No, it's going to be something that I think is going to be a page turner, for you guys, and give you more of what I just talked about today, of just ideas of how to revolutionize the construction business, and how to change everyday systems that from antiquated systems to systems with technology and the way of doing business. So the book will be released in the coming months here. And so I would say look out for that. That's gonna be coming down the pipe.
Awesome, man. I love that. So
Yeah.
thank you for taking the time and being on the show again today.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that, Ron. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right, construction champions, another episode in the bag. Data, understanding your business, your numbers. It's such a this is one of the things about the construction industry. When I just think about it, like, I don't comprehend how we just don't think this stuff necessarily even matters, or like we can just do it. Any other business, these are non-negotiables. Remember, you own a business and your service is construction. We have to start treating these as businesses, not construction and then business, because all we're trying to do is empower ourselves to do stuff the wrong way, because we can say, oh, it's a construction business. It's different than everything else, when it's not. The business core of what we do is not different. It needs to be just like any other business that you're building. It's what provides you the clarity, the data, the information to be able to build a successful business. So continue to remember is that you're a business owner first, and construction is just the service you provide. Whatever that is that you do, that is the service. It is not at the forefront of your business and how you operate as a business. So Construction Champions, make sure you go out, check out all of our fantastic partners. And until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.
Tired of losing track of promising leads? Struggling to convert inquiries into contracts? Build 12 is your solution. Over 30 years of industry expertise tailored for contractors ensures seamless lead management and nurturing. Boost your closing rate with ease. Experience the efficiency today. Download Build 12 and supercharge your business growth. Don't wait. Act now.
Is communication chaos holding your construction business back? Emails, texts, and generic tools weren't built for your business. BuilderComms delivers a platform built for construction. Fully branded, custom workflows, and seamless integration, all designed to fix communication for good. From our free forever plan to your own custom solution, we make construction software not suck. Ready to transform your business? Book your free strategy call today.
Unlock the potential of property intelligence with HomeTrack. In seconds, generate over 250 data points from a single address using advanced imaging and public data. Streamline property assessments efficiently, saving both time and resources. Enhance your decision-making today. Experience the future of property insights. Engage with HomeTrack now.